Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ngayon na naman ang ating programang Bago ang Lahat, Mamamayan muna. For the information of everyone, please like and share our live video in our FB page at Cora Alma De Leon, or you may also at Broad Stream Cast Communicators, or you may follow me on Facebook at Cora Alma De Leon, or you may even contact me to my cell phone 0918-912-3546. At nandito na ang batang-batang panauhin natin, si Dr. Rafael Legaspi. Hindi ho ibig sabihin ng pass yung nakapasa siya, hindi ho. Assistant Secretary siya of the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society. We will interview him shortly, but katulad ng dati, ang dapat tong co-host natin dito, si Ginang Sonia Rocco, but she's in Bohol, and we expect, I asked Miss Lucy Lasso, ang President ng World Association for Psychosocial Rehab, to join us, but she's still on another Zoom program, so we hope that she will be able to catch up sa ating program. I usually begin with a poem, Nasaan ang Araw. Matagal ko nang inasahan ang pagsikat ng araw. Matagal ko nang inasam-asam ang paglaho ng dilim. Ngunit bakit ganito ang buhay? Bakit ganito ang damdamin? Ang puso ay nagtataka, ang diwa ay nagtatanong nasaan ang araw. Ang araw pala ay nasa, nawawala yung page, kalwa. Ang araw pala ay nasa puso, ang araw pala ay nasa kaluluwa ng bala na. Kung ang puso ay puno ng pagmamahal, hindi na kailangang tanong, nasaan ang araw? Kung ang kaluluwa ay puno ng katotohanan, hindi na kailangang itanong pa, nasaan ang araw? Sa isip, sa salita at sa gawa, nakapaloob ang araw. Kailanman ay walang kadiliman. Sa tuwa, katotohanan at pagmamahalan, salamat sa poong may kapal, may kasagutan na ang tanong kong nasaan ang araw. At kalakip nito ay isa ding poem ni Rabindranath Tagore na babasahin ko. Where mind is without fear and head held high, where the world has not been broken by fragments by narrow domestic walls, where tireless strivings stretch their arms towards perfection, where the mind is led forward to thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Na tamang-tama sa programa natin ito ay gigisingin natin ang ating bayan at ang manggigising sa atin ay na-mention pa na batang-batang Dr. Rafael Legaspi, Assistant Secretary of the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society. Mag-greet ka muna. What's your nickname? Rafi or Rafael? Ano nickname
Rafi
mo?
po, ma'am.
Rafi, okay. Please introduce yourself. Taga saan ka pinanganak, saan ka nag-aral, para they can situate your background, saan ka galing. Go ahead.
Thank you so much,
Rafi.
Ma'am Cora. Thank you so much, Ma'am Cora, and good afternoon or good early evening to all your viewers po. I'm Rafael Legaspi, Dr. Rafael Legaspi. I am a psychiatrist and a addiction medicine specialist in training. I finished my medical degree at the Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan in Cagayan de Oro City, all the way in northern Mindanao. I took my residency training at the Philippine General Hospital, where I am also currently taking my fellowship in addiction medicine.
I'm interested, no, what made you decide to focus on addiction? Kasi not that it is not well known, ano, pero ang nakita ko, very often the interest in addiction relies on some experiences that they've seen na they feel they want to do something about the situation. Anong naging karanasan mo? What made you get really involved in this Philippine Addiction Specialist Study Society?
So even when I was still in college, Pumam, I had a lot of friends who I played
Friends.
football with or I hung out with in my free time. That when slowly, as our lives went on, a fair few of them got involved in drugs, and some of them definitely went to prison for possession. I'm not sure if I'm hoping none of them were caught up in the tokhang po. But even through college and even through medical school, I knew I wanted to become a psychiatrist and specialize in addiction because addiction just touches the lives of so many people, and they're not really the easiest patients to or
Yes.
easiest people, right? To treat, you know.
Yeah.
Mahirap mahalin, right? Minsan, yung
Mm.
person who has these kinds of problems. So I saw in myself someone who has a sort of parang my constitution, bale, is really to orientated towards understanding people like these because I these are people, this could be the person I used to know, right, when I was younger. So this really is what helped push me into this field, and also the fact that yeah, it's a very pressing problem.
Mm. Convince ka na you can do something about it, di ba? Kasi pag
Yes,
tayo
ma'am.
may passion at an activity, it is because we believe in it. Eh. We feel we can do something about it, di ba? So I really
Yes
am
po, ma'am.
very happy to meet you and I hope in the future, hindi lang ngayon, that we will be able to connect with helping people we know and particularly yung affected families, no? Kasi I
Yes po, ma'am.
realized that when you have a family member, and I've met, in fact, I know of a judge who has a son, and it was very troubling to a brother that later on the brother died ahead na because he himself had difficulties trying to understand how come the brother really became an addiction. Teka, ang pangalan niya, hindi ko Cora De Leon, nandiyan na si Lucy Lasso. Papalitan natin
Good
ang
afternoon,
pangalan.
ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Legaspi. So nice of you to spare us your time.
It's my
Ah.
pleasure po.
Thank you.
Hindi daw napalitan yung pangalan. Hindi bale. Ito this is just to show that Lucy is really the what we call the champion of the World Association for Psychosocial Rehab. So I invited her because our colleague Sonia Rocco, who's supposed to be co-hosting, but is in Bicol, although not Bicol, in Bohol, and I hope we still invited her. We gave her the link so that she
Yeah.
might be able to join. Siguro I'll ask Lucy first. How did you get to know Dr. Legaspi? Start with
Actually,
you first.
uh, basically, it was Dr. Benjamin Vista who lined up our speakers
Yes,
because
Ben
I know
Vista.
that the PAS is a newly formed organization, tama ba, Dr. Legaspi? And we'd
Yes po,
like
ma'am.
their advocacies aired and ventilated because, for example, one of the impressions I had in dealing with the department of or with mental health is that I noticed mental health is a separate kingdom from substance abuse, and I think they should be related. Kung hindi magkapatid dyan, at least magpinsan, hindi ba, Dr.
Mm,
Legaspi? When you look at the
Yes po.
setup in the States, they have the substance abuse and mental health.
Samsa. Yes po.
SAMHSA, oo. So bakit kailangang parang diborsyado ang substance abuse from mental health? I feel there's a need to, an
Connect.
approachment, oo. They
Mm.
have to be connected kasi for obvious reasons, no? And that's the reason why I felt, and we shared this with Dr. Vista, who happens to be a board member also of the World Association for Psychosocial Rehabilitation. I think there are many advocacies within the substance abuse sector that ought to be brought out. That's only one thing that I mentioned. But the other thing, for example, is to start looking at substance abuse as a health issue rather than just a criminal issue. I mean, you're in a better position probably to elaborate on that. But those are some of the impressions we have. And so we felt, dapat yata magkaroon tayo ng
Connectedness.
we need a
Mm.
conversation to connect mental health and substance abuse. And
Mm.
I'm so happy that you're there, Dr. Legaspi. And I hope the other uh, advocates also in substance abuse will
Yeah.
be with us in the coming sessions. Go ahead, Cora.
Mm. Sa totoo lang, ang tingin ko, marami pa tayong hindi alam sa addiction. We
Yeah.
only, of course, we watch it sa States, meron silang yung mga elements ng anti-addiction drives nila na merong mga yung 12 steps, nabasa ko yung
Mm.
12 steps nila. No? Pero dito sa Philippines, siguro tanungin natin si Dr. Legaspi, when did you start this Philippine Addiction Specialist Society? Give us a little history because I'm sure it was
Mm.
brought about by some advocacy of some groups among doctors that brought that about. Tell us your story, Dr. Legaspi.
With pleasure po. So the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society is a umbrella, was envisioned as an umbrella organization for
Mm,
all practitioners within the addiction field. There have been many initiatives in the past to somehow in various sectors, right? Whether it's social work, whether it's addiction counseling, local
Mm.
government units, and even in the academe and within hospitals, there have been separate initiatives to help out with this problem. But Dr. Vista and the board of the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society saw in 2022, specifically in October
December.
of 2022, very recently lang po.
Yeah.
Let's say we got our SEC registration official by October 10, but
Mm.
already in the even in previous years, it was already envisioned that the Philippines needed a society like this that was not based or nestled in one specific profession. Because
Mm.
in truth, the addiction world, worldwide and even within the country, is mostly composed of addiction workers who are not doctors. They may be
Mm.
healthcare providers, they may be nurses, they may be
Mm.
again social workers and
Mm.
even lay counselors. So mga recovering, they call themselves recovering addicts, right? So drug
Yeah.
counselors. So really a very huge the landscape bale is quite rich po. And
Yeah.
the it was just the right time to begin something like this, to start organizing all these
Mm.
separate groups into one sort of force, right?
Mm.
So that multiply po yung voices ng mga various sectors po. It is quite challenging, of course, since diba, it's not like one society like
Mm.
Philippine College of Physicians or even the Philippine Psychiatric Association. Also,
Mm.
everyone in the PPA is a psychiatrist, right? So it's quite a challenge getting these people together and getting them talking. But really, that is what PAS is all about. So we are
Mm.
barely a year old
very,
since
very
the
new.
parang inception. Since yung nilakad po yung mga papel sa SEC, ako po yung naglakad ng mga
Ah,
papel sa SEC. Kaya ako yung like I'm not a member of the board, but ako yung next quote unquote in line po bale because I was tasked by Dr. Vista because he's my mentor from my days as a psychiatry trainee. I was tasked to perform the necessary legwork po bale to make this
Mm.
yeah.
happen. It was quite a whirlwind few months getting that
Yeah.
SEC registration, but it was
Mhm.
well worth it because by December, with the help of our international partners, we were able to hold a national convention for the
Oo.
Philippine Addiction Specialist Society. Attended, very well attended, around 300 attendees. So all in the span of a few months.
Mm.
Joke po ng kasama ko na addiction fellow na trainee din na parang nabawasan kami ng 5 years ng lifespan namin organizing that activity because it was that hectic. But in the end, it was so worth it. It was well worth
Yeah,
the quote unquote 5 years na nabawas sa very short lives pa namin. But yes, it's a new field. It's a new it's an old field, but only just becoming more mature within the country. It's a new organization with a lot of international backing and even local partners. And we're
Mm.
glad to have a platform like this to sort of get the word out. Because
Mm.
even though we had that national convention,
Mm.
there's still a lot of initiatives that we want to do,
yeah,
and we could use all the help that we can get.
yeah.
Pag sinabi ba ninyong addiction, kasi usually ako, pag sinabing addiction na naisip ko lang
Drug.
drug addiction. Ano yung coverage na, nung scope, pag sinabi niyong addiction?
Mm-mm. So addiction covers not just the more commonly known substance
Mm.
use disorders like
Mm.
alcohol addiction. No, we in medical terms, it's
Yeah,
alcohol use disorder,
please.
right?
Yes.
Pag smoking cigarettes, so it's tobacco use disorder. O
Mm.
pag methamphetamine, so methamphetamine use disorder, cannabis use disorder. So these are all medical terms because these are medical conditions, right? They need people with these conditions need access to healthcare. But it's not
Yeah.
just that; it's also behavioral addictive disorders, so
Mm.
gambling disorder, hypersexual disorder, and even
Gadget.
internet gaming. Oh,
Yes.
internet gaming disorder.
Yes.
There's such a thing as microprocessor based disorders. Bale, so
Oh.
marami yun po sila.
Oo,
Marami po
oo.
yun sila. Bale, everything related to
Lawak,
the
ha?
digital
Mm.
age. Opo.
Yes.
So it's
Mm,
quite a in the Philippines, it's not as widely
oo,
hindi pa wala pang structures, right,
Mm.
to para mag-admit ng pasyente na kagaya ng
oo,
ganyan. But we're looking into attending conferences internationally or even kahit sa Southeast Asia lang or within
Yes.
Asia kasi the Koreans,
Yes.
have really got that down pat. The Koreans
Yeah.
know how to treat
Oh.
internet gaming disorder kasi ang
Oh.
rampant dun sa kanila. So that's one thing that PAS helps practitioners do, link
Mm.
up with international partners and get funding to
Mm.
attend fora like those.
Mhm. Mhm. That's interesting, ha? That's
Ako
already
naman,
very educational on our part.
oo. Ako naman, Lucy, I remember when I was with the Department of Social Welfare, there was a Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation, and they
Oo.
already had a program of what they called preventive education and community information
Mm.
against drug abuse. Meaning to
Mm.
say, they accept that lalo na, siyempre, mga clients ng DSWD, mga mahirap. So,
Yes.
to cover their pain, private
Mm.
pain, they take drugs, yung mga, syempre, cheap drugs. Minsan, at
Mm.
the time nga, ang iniinom yung cough medicine. Because yung iniinom na
Yes po.
cough medicine, that gives them the feeling that they're no longer vulnerable, something like
Mm.
that. Pero nakita ko na masyadong deep-seated ang talagang problema ng addiction because napaka-wide range ang pwedeng
Mm.
maging source ng whatever addiction, different types of addiction. I also know, Lucy, yung mga mayayaman na maraming pera na addiction naman to gambling,
Mm.
nawawala yung kanilang kayamanan para magastos lang sa mga
Correct.
naapektuhan ng kanilang income. Pero right now, Dr. Legaspi, ano yung talagang, kasi sabi no, Philippine Addiction Specialist Society. Focus kayo sa addiction. Pero based on your experience, ano yung pinakamarami na kind na addiction sa Pilipinas? Can you share sa palagay mo? If you will have a top three, ano inyo ito?
Mm.
Go ahead.
So based on the kinds of patients that we see and also the pinaka-established na mga advocacies din within the Philippines, I would have to say the main addictive disorders within the country are with the so-called legal highs, right, or the legal drugs. So it's still tobacco, alcohol, and then andyan si methamphetamine. So,
Mm.
Yes,
ano, you might say na parang, oh, smoking has been around for so long, haven't you figured out how to fix that yet? But, nicotine is one of the most addictive substances known to man, di ba? So
Mm.
it's quite still very rampant yung uh, alcohol use disorder, tobacco use disorder, or now more accurately, you could call it nicotine use disorder dahil sa
yes,
vaping po, di ba?
nicotine.
And then of course, it's there the perennial na methamphetamine use disorder, and then maybe cannabis use disorder. Pero it's not as commonly seen sa hospital po, bale.
Oo. Pero yung pag-inom ng katulad ng marijuana, because there are people that are advancing the notion that they can legalize marijuana as health related, parang para gumaling yung mga pasyente, they can take marijuana. Anong position nyo doon?
So
I might be putting you
yes
on the
po.
spot, pero
Ha,
only what you think you want to share.
yes po. According to the statement that we released, the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society released, I think it was late last year, regarding the hindi pa yung legalization yung tinakal po nung latest statement namin, the last statement we made. It was yung decriminalization po, yung kay Robin Hood Padilla na
Yeah.
merong mga cannabis center around the country. The
Ah,
stand
yeah.
of the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society is that no, legalization is not the way forward. You
Yeah.
know,
Because parang
more
you will
of
broaden the base of operation
yes
of
po.
people if you start legalizing it. Oh.
Yes po, it's masyadong premature to say na parang kaya ng ibang countries, kaya siya ng Pilipinas.
Mm.
If they had to move forward with reforming the cannabis prohibition or the laws around cannabis, it would have to start with decriminalization for the mere for the simple fact na we have very many people incarcerated just for possession of cannabis. Right? So
Mm.
more of alternatives to incarceration po yung ini-explore ng Philippine Addiction Specialist Society.
Yes.
So that's a big agenda for that's a big point in the agenda of the society for this year po. So conferences around that yung isa sa mga pinaplan namin.
Lucy,
Similarly,
I feel we should start yung parang Alcoholics Anonymous.
I was going to
Parang
just
we're
ask the
able to
question.
help them,
Hmm.
pero not belabor the point that they are drug addicts. Parang ganon. What
Oo.
do you think?
Hindi, I was just going to
Ikaw?
say, to
No.
ask Dr. Legaspi, kasi top 3 yung nabanggit mo,
Mm.
no? Tobacco, alcohol, and methamphetamine.
And then
Yung
methamphetamine.
tobacco, kahit paano merong kilusan, di gumagalaw na dyan eh. Yung
Mm.
the NGO Health Justice is actually uh, trying to advocating for the elimination of tobacco. Of course, that's easier said than done. But I was wondering, what is available in Philippine society in terms of action against alcoholism use disorder? Kasi parang pag ang pagtoma ika nga nila. Alcoholism is actually almost ingrained among the Filipino men. Hindi makakasocialize kung hindi magiinuman.
Oh. At saka
Di
sa
ba?
probinsya,
Oo.
accessibility ng alcohol nung mga
Pumunta ka sa
uh,
Quezon, ano lang yan, tuba, basi,
tuba,
all this.
oo.
So, I was wondering, ano yung actions dyan? Do we have any systematic movement on that one?
In
Dr.
terms
Ligas?
of systematic movements or established na movements po, it's because alcohol nga is so ingrained in Filipino
Mm.
society, right? it's really yung mga nagpo-push for change or for let's say
Reform.
increase na access to treatment
Yes.
Mm.
are the quote unquote alcoholics themselves. Diba? You mentioned
Oh,
Alcoholics Anonymous,
Yes.
which is a
oo,
self-help group, right? And then
oo.
among the self-help groups, si Alcoholics Anonymous Philippines, sila yung mas established yung ano, since they have an actual website. You know, you can
Mm,
go and check to see
mm,
if in your area, example sa Cagayan de Oro, pwede kong i-check where I'm from, kung saan yung mga meeting place, ano yung meeting time, and
ah,
ano yung mga contact numbers. So, um, although you know Alcoholics AA is a Western thing, right?
yes,
It
Yeah.
was established in America, diba? So
mm,
they're using materials that are from the US, and they might also be translated to the Filipino
right.
language, bale, but you
Mm,
know Filipino culture is different,
mm,
right? So as far as I know, yun po yung pinaka, let's say, established na alcohol, let's say, treatment for alcohol use disorder,
mm,
individuals suffering from alcohol use disorder. Apart
mm,
from yung mga na-admit sa ER dahil
mm,
nagwi-withdrawal po, di ba? So,
mm,
patients who are forced to stop drinking because of their family or naubusan sila ng pera or nalayo sila sa probinsya, right? Um, if your history of alcohol use is severe and prolonged enough, you might um, parang experience withdrawal symptoms, even like
Yeah.
one day, a little
mm,
less than one day from your last drink, right? So those
mm,
are the patients that end up in big hospitals, bale, and are treated by neurology, by psychiatry, and also by addiction medicine, kung meron mga addiction medicine or addiction psychiatry sa hospital na yon. So, merong ang pasok nila is through the hospital system, but already because they have complications due to alcohol use. So it's either
mm,
severe withdrawal or yung mga ano rin po, yung may alcoholic liver disease na, 'di ba? So yung may tama na sa atay or sa nagkaka-ulcer na sa tiyan, dun na unfortunately, dun na nakakatch yung mga merong use disorder
Yeah.
natin. Not necessarily at the community level. I'm sure there are some faith-based groups around then, diba? Some local government units also championing moderation
mm,
or reduce the alcohol drinking. But really, it's really a cultural thing among Filipinos. It's sign of manhood, 'di ba?
oh,
Na parang kung malakas kang uminom, 'di ba?
oh, macho,
Man's man ka. Oh,
yeah,
macho, man's man ka, 'di ba? Oh.
mm,
So that can be a difficult thing to erase from the from the psyche ng Pinoy, pale. So what we really try to champion is um let's say responsible alcohol use. I mean, even now, yung latest na data from the Lancet na journal is that there is no safe level of alcohol use.
oh,
So, if you drink alcohol, even if onti-onti lang, that still increases your chances of getting certain kinds of cancer,
Yeah.
right? Even if you
mm,
drink it supposedly at, if you're middle-aged or you're menopausal or you may certain populations of patients that benefit from, example, the resveratrol or whatever that's in red
oh,
wine, diba? That helps with BP and helps with other things. The risk that the alcohol itself, um, the increased risk from taking the alcohol itself sort of erases all those benefits. So
mm,
Yeah.
now the stand of the health of the doctors, Bali, is there is no safe level of alcohol consumption. You take alcohol just like you smoke at your own
yeah.
risk, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Nakakatuwa kasi parang ang feeling ko the alcohol itself will get you reward. Naalala ko kasi we had one case and this is in our own neighborhood. This fellow was an professional accountant, ha? Nag-inuman silang magkakasama and they played around with their drinks. They made cocktails kung ano-ano siguro minix nila. Alam mo sila of the ones who took that cocktail eventually na had mental disorders.
Naapektuhan
yeah,
sila. Oo.
Totally.
They were
Sabi ko,
affected.
ano
Yeah.
ba
Yeah.
yan, na-rewire ba yung brain nila? Bakit ganyan? Tatlo sila na nag-inuman. pinaglaruan nila yung kanilang ano, mga siguro iba-ibang klase, pinagsama-sama nila. And that was it, that triggered it. Up to now, eh, well, dysfunctional na.
Well, ako, I have ano, a funny story about that. Ano, yung, nag-graduate ako sa Catholic U and some friends from New York visited me. Ano, women friends naman. So sabi sa akin, oh, let's drink for your, for your graduation. And we had gin tonic. Gin, talagang big bottle of gin and then tonic. And like it was throughout the night and sabi ko talaga you can get drunk parang you're so tipsy that you don't know what you're talking about. Parang you're having conversation like crazy people. So
You're
I
out of
said,
your
if that
mind,
is only
literally.
one event that you're doing this, can you imagine people doing it every night? My
Mm.
God,
Wow.
talagang you would not want to wish it on people. Ano. Anyway, I think that, Lucy, what we want to know is anong challenges kay Dr. Legaspi ngayon
Mm-mm.
since he's Assistant Secretary. Number one, I think to have more people know about your society and then what are your resources that you need to really do better because I am sure you're not all over the country. Kulang pa kayo to
Not
be
yet.
able to reach every nook and cranny of the country. How do you propose to reach out to many more people, um, Dr. Legaspi? Of course, we're helping
So,
you with this radio
yes,
program,
ma'am.
no? And you can come
Indeed,
back and
ma'am.
come
We're
back
happy.
for this program.
Yeah,
Okay, go
we're
ahead.
very happy. We are very happy for this this platform po because although we have our own website and a Facebook page, it's quite different when you get to listen to see and listen to the people behind the organization. And that this your program provides us that platform. So we do have let's say members who are from different areas of the Philippines, but it's really not that widespread. I mean, there is not a Philippine Addiction Specialist Society chapter, for
Mm.
example, in my hometown in Cagayan de Oro. There are addiction workers in
Mm.
CDO, very established addiction workers within my own city, which
Mm,
I've not even met yet. I know of them because of the society, right? They at conventions, they will say that, oh, those are the people from Cebu, those are the people
Mm.
from Sito, those are the people from Zamboanga, from other areas in Luzon, for example. So even within the society, I think from my last count, there's only about 100, I know, 100 members in the society, 100 members as it is right now, and really because there are so many patients and the field is so broad kasi nga po
Mm.
uh, it's addiction specialist, 'di ba? Hindi addiction medicine, hindi addiction
Mm.
mm.
nursing. Exactly. So ano po siya, iba-iba din po yung parang entry point or iba-iba po
Fields,
ng klase
yes.
ng individuals na tinutulungan namin.
Mm,
So the
Mm.
doctors will treat patients, quote unquote patients, those who access care through the hospitals or the OPD clinics, parang ganun po. But then we also have past na members, or we want more, even more past members who are involved in prevention, right? Who
Mm.
do education in the community, do faith-based na activities. So, and parang there the field is so large nga
Yeah.
po that it's difficult for us to reach out to everyone all at once. So we're really glad that we have this platform, and we would like to well, depending on the time ng board po, bale we can arrange po na mag-guest dito and you talk about
yeah.
parang topics germane to the subject of addiction and mental
Mm.
health.
Mm.
Do you have any
Actually,
idea how
yeah.
many addiction specialists we have in the Philippines now?
Actually, ma'am, it's difficult to put a number on it
Uh,
because addiction specialist itself, di ba, medyo contentious siya na
uh,
no na, na term, di ba? Addiction, what
correct.
constitutes
But you can declare
the
yourself
practice of
a addiction specialist because of the number of patients you have seen. I would say if I were a doctor and I would have seen many patients suffering from addiction, I could consider myself addiction specialist because I have had a lot of experiences working with people with addiction. Would you want? Don't you want to use it the term addiction specialist in that manner? That you have had
Yes,
the
ma'am.
occasion, the experience to be able to help people from addiction
In fact, it was a conscious decision to say addiction specialists po. So
specialist.
it
Yes.
is
So
broad. It is broad enough, but also it signifies a certain level of mastery in the field po. Bale. So one of the future plans of PAS is to parang sort of na manganak po siya ng mga more specialized na society.
yes,
So addiction
correct.
nurses, addiction
Mhm.
medicine, na mga doctors lang, addiction counseling, mga ganun po.
Mm.
So eventually, but we as is the consistent with the experience of addiction specialties or societies in other parts of the world. A lot of them started with really like a general
Mm.
society, and then nag-slowly po sila
So,
nag-branch out
uh,
rather than small societies coalescing into one. So
Correct.
itong parang path that PAS is following is actually the norm po. Ganito po
Mm.
yung pag-form
Mm.
and pag-consolidate ng addiction
mm.
specialists in your country po bale.
I remember Lucy na one of the ways na if you like you're overweight and you take a drug na I
Yeah.
remember yung ano yung amphetamine amphetamine it was used also to be
Weight
able to
reduction.
control weight, not
Mm.
realizing that it is also addicting, parang you're
Mm.
using it for one purpose and the
But the,
effect will give you another problem. And I
yeah,
think people ought to know that there are ways of losing weight, but at the same
yeah.
time, not necessarily dependent on drugs. Am I
Oo.
correct, Dr. Legaspi? Maraming ganon eh,
Yes
na
po. Oo.
nakakasakit
Yung
dahil ano.
pag pag misuse ng drugs, right? So
Yes.
it is the tendency talaga of humans, to sort of find ways to abuse yung mga gamot na kahit galing sa nature, even synthesized in the lab, you know. Um there really is a spectrum of kinds of substance use. So there is use that is parang hazardous use, no, sorry, at-risk use. So at-risk use is if your example using a certain drug na parang not to the level na nakakasama na siya sa'yo, but parang papunta na doon, right?
Mm.
But there's also such a thing as yung hazardous use na. Example, yung
Yeah.
pag-inom ng alak at pagyosi. Alam na po natin na nakakasama siya, but people
Oo.
continue to use it. And it's a free country, like they say, diba? You're an adult, as long as you know the risks of what you're
Yeah.
doing, you should be, you should not be prevented from doing that, right?
Mm.
Ang
Oo.
problema lang with smoking is it's a public health menace,
Oo.
'di ba? Yung secondhand
Yeah.
smoke and everything,
Mm.
right? So, the spectrum of use spans yung at-risk use and then yung
Correct.
disordered use na yung kailangan talaga, for example, magpa-institutionalize, 'di ba? Yung mga inpatient na rehabilitation. Yung kailangan na talaga na controlled yung environment just to keep you from using the substance or engaging in the activity.
Ang
Alam mo, ang
nakita ko,
isang
go
issue
ahead,
na
Lucy.
ah,
Oh,
ang
go
isang
ahead.
issue na you were talking about uncontrolled use, no? Halimbawa mo, yung mga rugby boys na tinatawag natin, di ba, yung mga kabataan, hindi nila alam na yung ginagawa nila is already a form of addiction.
Yes po.
Di ba? So, I think,
Definitely,
yeah.
it
So,
begins
as
with
one,
hazardous use po, 'di ba?
yes.
Gagamitin nila na parang um, yung mga inhalants like toluene are known to cause example strokes, 'di ba?
Oh,
So it's actually kahit isang use lang ng pag-rugby bale,
oh.
hazardous use na 'yon. If you use it all the time, it can lead to inhalant use
Addiction,
disorder. So
yes,
it is
yes.
addictive po
Mm.
talaga.
Pero
So
alam mo,
yun din po.
Dr. Legaspi, parang ang tanong ko sa iyo, ano ang level of literacy addiction literacy ng Pilipino in your view?
In my view, because of, for example, ano, bunga bunga ng kawalan po madalas yung mga
Yeah.
nagiging bad habits ng Filipinos,
Mm-mm.
right? People, example, uh, people smoke for increased energy, 'di ba? Or to relieve stress,
Mm.
or they use methamphetamines for work because they
Mm.
have night shift, mga ganun po. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
They use alcohol to relax, right? Not,
Mm.
and
Mm.
sometimes not even in just social settings. It's like ginagawa na po siyang gamot, 'di ba?
Mm.
Mm.
Pampatulog yung alak. So
Yes.
really, ano, it's difficult to tell. It is challenging, challenging to tell the people na para nasa laylayan po ba, the less
Mm.
educated people, ang masa bale, to tell them to stop taking these substances because it is all they know. It is the
Yeah.
cure to their woes. Kumbaga,
Yeah.
it's one thing to tell them to stop, but
Yeah.
it's a wholly other thing, and perhaps more productive or more helpful if we gave them an alternative, right? Or
Mm.
we gave them options. So better better education, better healthcare, better infrastructure, better
Mm.
governance. Yun talaga yung kailangan para maangat yung literacy ng Pinoy when it comes to addiction, because all these substances of abuse are seen as yun nga, bisyo. Bisyo is a
Mm.
bad
Easy
Sure.
habit,
fix.
not
Mm.
necessarily something that will lead to your death, right? It's not
Oh,
Mm.
life threatening right then and there. Maybe you suffer down the line, right?
yeah.
But while you're enjoying the substance, parang okay lang. Everything is hunky dory. So
Yeah.
it's really a lack of information given to our the masses po bale. And
Mm.
Mm.
kahit yung DOH, nagda-information drive naman po, di ba? Si Yossi Kadire, I remember my dad worked in the DOH before and
Mm.
Yeah.
even now. Di ba? Dati merong mascot ng Yossi Kadire sa bahay namin.
Oh,
Di ba? He used to
Yeah.
bring that thing home kasi siya yung may sasakyan, di ba? So, pag may field work sila. So, matagal na tayong nagtatry na i-keep yung Filipinos, even the
mm.
public, from harming themselves with these substances.
Mm.
But the problem is, it just feels good to smoke sometimes for some people,
Yeah.
right? Naging habit na siya. And nicotine nga, like I said earlier, is one of the most addictive substances known to man. Wala namang
Yeah.
nalasing sa pagyoyosi, di ba? Pero pwede mo
Oh,
siyang gamitin
yeah.
at any occasion. Malungkot, nagyoyosi. Masaya, nagyoyosi. Pagod, nagyoyosi. May taas yung energy, nagyoyosi. Di ba? So it's
Status
ridiculous.
symbol. Status
Oh,
symbol na
tapos symbol din siya.
nagyoyosi. Kasi ngayon, mahal
Opo,
ang
di ba?
yosi. So, nagiging
Oo nga
affordable.
po. Tama.
Pero,
And
ang nakikita ko talaga, until you get sick, and then I think this is my thinking, no? Pag ikaw nagkasakit, you will see the relationship. Habang hindi ka nagkakasakit, akala mo, okay. Everything okay. And then you see something is wrong with you. And then you see a doctor, and the doctor tells you, you have to stop smoking. And you don't want to stop because addicted ka na nga eh. And so you will only stop if you're sick. Kaya sabi ko, dapat magkasakit para, para matuto at ma-accept na mali pala yung ganun. Kailangan, habang hindi ka nagkakasakit, akala mo okay. Am I correct in that assumption? So,
yes,
takutin
ma'am.
natin
There is
sila.
a
Kaya yun ang gusto ni ng Department of Health, manakot sa sigarilyo. Maglalagay ng picture ng effect ng sigarilyo. Pero the people, of course, the cigarette vendors don't want to do that. Maapekto sa kanilang negosyo, di ba?
Yes po. In some countries, ang laki ng I've done a lot of research on this while, for example, if I'm asked to speak po bale. So, inaaral ko po yung mga packaging na mga na regulations in other countries. Sa Philippines, it's like a little over
Mm.
50% ata. In other countries, it's 100% front and back. So kita mo yung buong packaging, wala nang Marlboro na makikita. It's just somebody's mouth na nasira na, or
Mm.
somebody,
Yeah.
'di ba, na yung
Eh,
somebody's
ayaw sa
lungs, 'di ba?
Pilipinas
Very
pa,
graphic.
nilalabanan yan.
Opo,
Nilalabanan,
sa
di
sa,
ba?
sa Pilipinas nilalabanan po siya
Kasi
ng
very
of
strong
course, ng
lobby
tobacco lobby.
for that.
Mm.
Yes po.
That's the other side of the story.
Mm.
Mm. Yes po. And I think it's the same thing
Parang it's like
what's happening
fighting
with
City
the
Hall. Kasi if the City Hall
Yes
is
po.
involved in making sure the drugs are sold in the marketplace, talagang kalaban mo City Hall. Ano lang yun, generic na City Hall. No
Yes,
reference to our mga mga local governments. But what I have seen is that unless the local government takes a stand,
Mm.
para sa akin, parang our efforts go to naught ng private sector. Kailangan the government will take a hard position and say, I
Mm.
want my people to be healthy. I don't want them to be smoking because it's bad for their health. Siguro if name me a mayor, name me a president, a governor who will do that, it will make a difference in our country. What do you think, Doctor?
Yes po talaga kasi part of it is the permissive attitude nga of government. Kasi it makes money. It's true, right?
Yeah.
Selling alcohol and tobacco, even mga vape, bale, whatever, generates revenue, tax
Taxes.
revenue, right? So tapos malakas nga yung lobby, yung tobacco lobby, yung alcohol lobby. So very established na mga na groups 'yon. So yes, it is going to take a big shift, bale, in the way that government sees these substances. Maybe not to the point na parang maging welfare state yung Pilipinas po, bale, 'di ba? Na parang lahat ng mga may problem with smoking or let's say, paano ba? Everyone with smoking or alcohol related na complications ay sasagutin ng gobyerno. Hindi
Gobyerno,
naman
yeah.
kailangan na gano'n na
Okay.
level. Maybe not drastic, right? It's never gonna
Yeah.
happen. Maybe not in our lifetimes. Pero maybe at least, a show of parang na nakikinig sila sa mga doktor. Gano'n na lang po.
Oh.
Na nakikinig sila sa mga doktor. Because the doctors can scream from the rooftops as much as they like. And they
Kaso,
are doing
pag
that,
ang doktor mismo smoke kasi ang kanyang field,
Yan
di
lang po.
ba? I remember meron kaming kilalang doktor na maaga naman siyang namatay talaga dahil nag smoke siya. Pero
Yun
heart
nga po. It's
specialist heart specialist. Anyway,
yun nga po.
moving
I want
on.
to
Yes
ask,
po.
I want to ask Dr. Legaspi, okay, bagong-bago ang PAS, ano? Ano yung nakikita niyong possible collaboration, let's say? Kami kasi we're in the mental health field, not necessarily substance abuse, no? Ano yung possible partnership or collaboration na pwedeng magawa to help in this, yung sabi mo, prevention ang dapat mabigyan ng pansin?
Yes po. Sa tingin ko po, PAS might need some help with the prevention aspect po because part of prevention is information dissemination, o, 'di ba?
Mm.
Or let's say providing yung mga platforms para may mga ganitong forum na so
Mm.
people can talk about not just listen to people, like us speaking about the
Yeah.
topic, but really, parang town hall, 'di ba? Nag-uusap yung
Uh,
mga tao. Just I think that's one thing that PAS cannot do on its own right now.
mm,
So we have international partners, yes, but those are for yung mga activities na let's say example sa hotel, 'di ba? Sa hotel may funding
mm.
para i-hold yung event sa hotel or we talk
Yeah.
to the LGU para may ganun, ma-sponsor na ganun. But in terms of really the reach that your program has, bale, we don't have anything like that. We don't have access to that, bale. So really
Yeah.
appreciate being invited to this program. And then yun nga
Mm,
the information dissemination or even announcements if you want to announce something. 'Di ba,
Yeah.
na may bagong program, may bagong example activity, yung or
mm,
commemoration of a day, 'di ba?
mm,
International No Alcohol Day or
mm,
No Smoking Day, mga gano'n. Even simple observances like that na hindi
mm,
necessarily natututukan
Mm.
ng DOH. Although I'm sure may mga gano'n na commemoration yung DOH, just to drive home the point na may someone from the private sector also
mm,
doing or observing these special days. And through your through this program, I think we could make a lot of things
May,
happen
may
po
opportunity
for
na
mental
tayo
health.
dyan,
mm,
yung isang kakilala natin na nanonood sa atin, si Evelyn Roda, taga ano yun, taga Maryland, sa state, very ano tayo, very real ang kanilang enjoyment dito sa ating program. Nanonood, nakikinig sila sa atin. Si Franklin Garcia Lorenzo, he's no, he's a balladeer. He's a very good talent, no? And feeling ko, pag nakita ng mga tao na maganda ang boses niya, dahil hindi siya nag-smoke, ano na siya, icon na siya. For we should get him in our World Association for Psychosocial Rehab para kakanta siya sa ating mga program. And of course, Edlin Nancha sa private sector na talagang engaged din siya in certain advocacies. So, yun ang mga hinahanap din natin. And we look forward siguro, Lucy, sa mga nanonood, hindi ho pangalan niya Cora De Leon. Napasama lang ho sa sa pero si Dr. Legaspi ay aanyayahan natin sa ating pulong sa World Association for Psychosocial Rehab para kasama ni Dr. Ben Vista, lalawak ang ating capacity and engagement. Makatutulong. Mm-mm. So, sabi ni Dina, meron na lang tayong 4 minutes na magsasalita dito. So, tigo 1 minute na lang tayo. Ako extra 1 minute to be able to say goodbye. Sige. Lucy, ikaw muna as
Dr.
co-host
Legaspi,
this afternoon. Go ahead. Ikaw muna. 1 minute statement.
Well, I think this is our maiden session, so to speak, or conversation on the addiction specialist, no? And nakikita ko sa binabanggit ni Dr. Legaspi, napakalawak pa at napakahaba pa ng tatahakin nating landas. And I think in the future, I can see possible partnerships with PAS. And in fact, maybe in some of the seminars we're going to organize on mental health, baka integrate na natin yung messages related to addiction. Because it does affect, for example, workplace productivity. Pwede na nating magkaroon ng session on that eh. So I see some concrete interfaces already. So I'd like to thank Dr. Legaspi for gracing our program today and opening our eyes to possibilities. Sana bumalik ka pa ulit, Dr. Legaspi.
Imbitahin natin. Dr. Legaspi, your goodbye.
So,
and reminder
thank
to
you
the
so
people
much.
who watch.
Yes, po. Thank you so much for inviting us, the Philippine Addiction Specialist Society, as a guest in your program po. Truly, the aims of mental health and substance use or even behavioral addiction prevention and treatment are have an intersect, a big intersect. I know that the World Association for psychosocial rehab is its roots in also social and community psychiatry, right?
Correct.
And what is addiction, but one of the largest social and community mental health concerns.
Yeah.
So we look forward to future collaborations with you po. The pass is it's a play on words, right? Pass, pass muna siya, bigyan ka ng alak, bigyan ka ng joint, bigyan ka ng something, pass muna. So it's like it's a nice catchy na name, and we hope that it is in the future going to be on the lips of many people who are advocates for addiction prevention in the country, and also for people who wish to be part of our group. So thank you very much again for this important important guesting slot po, and we hope to have in the future involvement in your program po.
Tamang-tama naman itong prayer for the nation na I will read. It's a 1 minute prayer, no? Lord, let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done, and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitations. Grant me the courage and humility. Fill me with spirit to face the challenge and start the change I long to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service, and communion. Let's start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. And I am sure yung mga nakapanood sa atin, kahit na hindi na nagsabing nakapanood sila, merong mga nagpasabi din na very challenging din ang ating programang ito, at naniniwala ako marami pang gustong manood dito. Kung di man sila nakapanood, next Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we are on under the program natin ng mental health, health justice, and of course, governance at the end with the private sector. Maraming salamat sa mga lahat ng nanood, nakinig sa atin. And thank you very much, Dr. Rafael Legaspi of PAS, and of course, si Lucy Lasso na ang pangalan ngayon ay Cora De Leon. Thank you very, very much.
Good
Thank you
afternoon,
so much po.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.